A few years ago, I was dating a very dependent girlfriend. What started out as just casual dating turned into her practically living at my house, needing to constantly be in contact with me and always trying to spy on my social media accounts. She was extremely depressed and used my sympathy as a weapon to keep pulling me back whenever one of her crazy actions would push me away. For instance, whenever we fought, she would break down into inconsolable tears, apologizing profusely while subtly placing the blame on her depression or difficult past. Sometimes she would weave tales of previous abandonment, making me feel like just another person deserting her if I even thought of taking space. It took my stupid younger self a long time to see the pattern. Then the day came when she sensed she was losing her grip on me, and that's when she did the unthinkable. She ran over my dog. She seriously believed that a shared grief would patch us back together. And I hate to admit it, but for a moment, it did. The raw agony of driving my little guy to the vet, the heart-wrenching farewell. It was a lot for me to bear. For once, she was the one offering comfort, switching our roles, until one alcohol-fueled night when the monstrous truth came out. I've never tasted fury like that before. I've always been a respectful guy and never believed in violence against women, but that moment made me question everything. The painful memory of the vet visit haunted me. How could someone I once cared for turn into such a nightmare? The moment her confession spilled out, it felt like a gut punch, leaving me reeling in disbelief. Her truth, so casually disclosed, shattered my perceptions. I remember standing there, my mind clouded with shock, feeling a cold numbness creep in. Her tears, which used to tug at my heartstrings, meant nothing to me anymore. The sight of her crying, once a signal for me to comfort her, now sparked a bitter resentment. Each sob, each tear-streaked apology was like a mirror reflecting her deceit. She had weaponized her vulnerability to ensnare me in her twisted game, and I was done. I couldn't muster a shred of sympathy for her. I was hardened to her emotional displays, immune to her manipulative tactics. My heart, once soft and understanding, was now a fortress she couldn't penetrate. I had seen the monster beneath the guise, and there was no turning back. Before I knew it, I was hauling her stuff out of my house and physically wrestling her out the door. I filed a restraining order and even had to threaten her with legal action just to keep her at bay. Since then, I haven't heard a word from her, and honestly, I pity anyone who crosses her path. I used to think she loved me, but that whole ordeal got me questioning if she was some twisted sociopath, pulling my strings the entire time. That, my friend, is the bone-chilling tale of the time I was caught up with a real-life psycho.
I wish there were parts of my life I could erase, blot out like ink on a page. Every so often my mind insists on dredging up those memories I'd rather keep buried. One particularly unsettling ghost from my past is the memory of my first boyfriend. We were just kids, really. I was 14, and he was just a year older than me. That whirlwind relationship, though only 4 months long, forever scarred me. Our youthful friendship took an unnerving turn when we decided to transition into dating. At first, his attentiveness seemed sweet, maybe even endearing. But this trait soon mutated into an obsession. He followed me everywhere, his constant presence like a relentless shadow I couldn't shake. It was eerie, feeling like my own personal phantom of a boyfriend was haunting me. The day I mustered up the courage to break up with him, his dramatic tendencies took an even darker turn. His stalking intensified, and chilling messages started appearing, spray-painted in brash, jagged letters on my route to school. "And I want to play a game," one of them read, a twisted homage to a scene from Saw, a movie we had watched together. The threats on the streets evolved into something far more terrifying, and his obsession with me reached an unprecedented level. I can still feel the terror of the day he tried to kill me. He set my house on fire. That fear, the cold realization that my life was in genuine danger, is something that haunts me to this day. Looking back, I realized that I was a child thrust into a nightmare that no child should ever have to face. His actions left a deep, echoing wound that influenced my perception of relationships in the years that followed. The saddest part was that he wasn't just my first boyfriend, he was my first introduction to fear, my first real encounter with danger. The experience is an unwanted baggage I've had to carry with me, a reminder of the monsters that can lurk in the most unexpected places. These days, I'm trying to move on, to leave that harrowing chapter behind. I've learned that the world isn't all monsters, there are good, caring people out there too. I've had to relearn to trust, to allow myself the chance to find love despite the terrifying experiences of my past. The memories of my first boyfriend, however, remain a grim reminder of a time I'd like to forget.
So there I was, just kicking back on my front porch, hanging with this girl from down the block. I'd recently cut ties with my ex, a real piece of work. A drug-addicted psychopath who had the audacity to cheat on me. No love lost there, I assure you. The new girl and I, we were just getting to know each other, seeing where things might lead. It was a chilled evening, a light breeze rustling the leaves, the kind that makes you feel at ease. Out of nowhere, a familiar silver car rolls up my street. My heart starts pounding. I recognized it instantly, belonged to one of my ex's sketchy friends. Just as it nears my house, the back door swings open. The car is still moving, mind you. And what follows next is something straight out of a horror movie. Out rolls my ex, screaming and crying, hitting the pavement at a good 10 miles per hour. This woman had seriously lost it. The sight of her scrambling up to her feet was as disturbing as it was surreal. She had this wild look in her eyes, the kind that chills you to the bone. To add to the insanity of the situation, she has a baseball bat in her hands, a menacing look on her face that says, "I mean business." She starts yelling, making threats to kill the girl I'm with. The whole thing was utterly insane, the kind of stuff you see in a cheap B-grade horror movie. I swiftly ushered the new girl into my house, trying to shield her from the full brunt of my ex's craziness. Then, it was just me and my ex out there. I tried to calm her down, but she wasn't having any of it. Her eyes were wild, her hair disheveled, her words a rapid fire of venomous threats. She swung the bat around, whooping and yelling like she'd lost all sense of reality. The situation was escalating quickly, and I knew I needed to do something drastic. So, I threatened to call the police. That seemed to knock some sense into her, or maybe it just scared her enough to leave. Either way, it worked. As she stumbled away, the silver car was long gone, leaving her in its dust. I remember standing there, watching her fade into the distance, baseball bat clutched in her hand, her cries echoing through the night. The evening's calm had been shattered, replaced by the echoes of her mad tirade. It was one of those moments that really makes you question your life choices, you know? I thought I'd left that mess of a relationship behind me. But there she was, my drug-addicted, psychotic ex-girlfriend, making a scene that was a testament to just how far off the deep end she had gone. It was a harsh reminder of the bullet I dodged when I broke up with her. The girl from down the block and I were left shaken by the incident, but it also brought us closer together. The ordeal was bizarre, sure, but it also had an odd bonding effect, like we weathered a storm together. She didn't run off, thank God, and that's something. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake off the image of my ex tumbling out of a moving car, baseball bat in hand, crazed look in her eyes. It was a chilling reminder of the person I used to share my life with. But it also reinforced my decision to cut her off, to move on. It reassured me that I was heading in the right direction, away from the chaos, towards someone better.